I can confirm that we are retaining 3 players, 2 capped players and 1 uncapped player.
Big Basket Now presents RCB Bold Diaries.
The 2 capped players will be Virat, so probably not too many surprises there, and the second being Rajat Patidar. Virat is being retained at 21 crore and Rajat at 11. And then the third player we're retaining, the uncapped player, is Yash Dayal. We'll be retaining him at 5 crore. All in all, we will have spent 37 crore of our 120 pot with our retentions before we get into auction. So that leaves us 83 crore for us to hopefully build a sort of team and squad that we think can be really competitive and hopefully bring that elusive title to RCB. It is worth saying that there is one other player that we almost certainly would have retained, and that's Cameron Green. But unfortunately, with his injury, that has ruled him out of this next IPL, and that made that a really difficult position for us. And obviously, we're devastated for Cameron, and he too is also devastated that he's going to miss out on the next IPL and remaining a part of RCB because he thoroughly enjoyed himself last time. So that decision kind of got taken out of our hands, so to speak.
Virat retention won't come as much of a surprise to anyone, I think, in India. He was and is an absolute key for RCB in a number of ways. Talking about cricket particularly and on-field play, he was sensational last year. He's rock solid as a batter and as a bloke, and he provided, as well as the weight of runs, amazing entertainment for anyone who loves cricket, and particularly for our supporters in the Chinnaswamy. But also was very much a part of us coming back into the season after a really tough first half. He was one of the leaders that propelled us into the playoffs. And we'll be looking for that sort of leadership from him again coming into season 2025.
He's obviously an outstanding batsman, and he proved that again last year, being top run scorer and leading our innings from the front. So we expect more of the same from him in his own style and his way, which he does brilliantly. But on top of that, you get a leader in the environment, and you also get somebody that just brings so much energy and intensity when it's required.
He leads as a role model. As a professional sportsman, he's sensational, and a guy I really respect in that regard. And he's obviously good for the brand and the business, which is not part of my remit, but still a very important part of the IPL and a franchise of the status and standing of RCB.
बस यही बोलना है? यही तुम्हारा ऐड?
Yeah, that's it.
सही है यार. Now delivering in 10 minutes.
Rajat Patidar as our second retention. A fairly easy decision. He provides something that a particular skill that is not widely available, and the ability to really dominate very early on in his innings. His particular skill is hitting spin, but he's pretty adept at putting pace bowlers under pressure as well. So we value that role very highly, and we value his skill very highly in that regard. He is also one of the guys we'd like to see develop in a leadership context, and he's a really good young man, very popular in the dressing room. He's naturally quiet, but he knows what he's talking about when it comes to cricket, and we value his role in the building of our new team. So an easy decision for us to retain Rajat, and we look forward not only to watching his explosive batting, but also from within the dressing room, watching his influence on the rest of the guys.
And then equally in Yash Dayal, it was his first year with us last year, but I think he proved what he was capable of. He's got real skills with a new ball, swinging the ball both ways. He's got excellent control, and he's got outstanding white ball skills when it comes to things like slower balls and Yorkers. And we saw a lot of that through the competition, and we certainly saw it in our crunch game against CSK, where he saw that game through for us. So again, to have him retained is great, and to get him at a lower rate because he's got uncapped status, again, is brilliant for us.
He provides excellent value for us as an uncapped player. In fact, leading into the retention decisions, we were obviously watching very closely whether he was going to get a go in a test series, and therefore that would have bumped up his price and value as a retention. So even though we were wishing him all the best in his Indian aspirations, there was an element of selfishness to the fact that we could retain him as an uncapped player. He was brilliant last season. He swung the ball both ways. He showed good control allied with that nippy pace and lateral movement that is dangerous with the new ball. He was great for us at the death. He's got a very deceptive slower ball. He can bowl a Yorker, and he's brave. He himself has spoken about some of the tough experiences that have built him into a more resilient cricketer, and we saw some of that in that crucial CSK game last year when he won it for us right at the death. So we are looking forward to him playing a very prominent role as our talented Indian swing bowler, and we are very happy to announce his retention.
We actually made a decision that we didn't want to value him any less than we valued him last year. So whilst the uncapped retention band was at 4 crore, we felt the minimum he deserved was what he got last year, where we had him for 5 crore where he went through the auction. So we've retained him at that exact same figure to value that continuity from his perspective. With things like this, you're trying to balance, I guess, the locking in and retaining players that are really important to you and key players that you want to be a part of your team and your squad in the coming year, but also retaining enough flexibility that you can attract players and recruit players at auction that can cover up some of the gaps that you think that you might have, or the bits that you want to prioritise in your team. So it's always that balance of having some flexibility but also locking in key talent. Both Andy and I were really keen to make sure that we locked in Indian talent, so we certainly had that as one of our key priorities, that we wanted to get a strong Indian core established through our retentions. We obviously feel like we've done that through Rajat, Virat and Yash. So they became 3 real no-brainers when I talk about retaining a strong Indian core. And then outside of that, we hopefully have enough flexibility with the money that we aren't using up to try and strengthen other parts of the team. Clearly we want to add to that bowling unit with only having Yash there. We want to make sure we cover off our preferences for pace bowling and spin bowling. We want to build the rest of that batting order out, and we also certainly want to make sure that we've got the right amount of power in our middle order, particularly for games at Chinnaswamy that we know that go deep. So lots for us to do, and hopefully enough money for us to take to auction to do that.
Big Basket Now presents RCB Bold Diaries.